And do you know what's better than waking up to breakfast in bed? Yes, a big green candle on Bitcoin, up 4.61% at the time of recording this video as I've just woken up. And we can see there's a bit of a conflicting message because we've got a bunch of things to cover off in terms of major US firms adopting Bitcoin, which is helping accelerate some of this green candle. But we've also had Jerome Powell yesterday trying to crash the markets. We're going to cover all of that off and more in this video, so make sure you hit the like button, make sure you subscribe, make sure you watch till the very end. Don't forget, these videos are brought to you by NordVPN. Please make sure you're staying safe in crypto, guys. I generally recommend you guys set up your VPN. Links in the description. 70% off a 2-year plan with coupon code OHMAN. Without further ado, let's get straight into the charts, because look at this beautiful green candle, lovely green candle. You can see the candle previous to it yesterday ended up being a red day as Jerome Powell attempted to crash the market, but he wasn't successful, and we're able to continue here with a green candle today, led primarily due to two key factors. And the first one we can see is that Ray Dalio's Bridgewater is investing now in a crypto fund. Now, I tweeted about this a couple of hours ago when I got the news. And you can see it's the first signal today that the world's largest hedge fund is taking crypto seriously with its own money. Now, this is interesting because going back to February, just a month ago, Bridgewater came out saying that they're researching heavily in crypto, but they've not made any commitment to invest in crypto. Now, what's changed their mind in a couple of months? Well, obviously, it's the US stance in terms of a regulatory approach. We know the SEC came out. We know the Biden's executive order came out to say that we need to be the best place for crypto. We need to take a step forward. The US needs to make it more accommodative, and they need to research it more and be at the forefront of it. And that has really helped firms like Bridgewater and Associates go ahead and invest in crypto. Now, one thing to note, we need to remember here that they're not investing directly into spot BTC. Okay, I tweeted that as well to the effect. Let's head on over to my profile. You can see that they've not invested directly in BTC. They're doing it through a vehicle that's linked to the price of BTC. Okay, so they're not buying spot BTC. That's one thing to note. Now, the second thing to monitor is Goldman Sachs makes a milestone crypto trade today, the first over-the-counter transaction on crypto. Again, we need to be careful, guys. When you read the details of the article, you'll understand that an NDO is an option which the underlying asset cannot be delivered. Okay, so it's settled in cash, not in Bitcoin. So again, this is not going to affect the supply of Bitcoin. These are derivatives, which is what all these firms and banks do. I know, I used to work at a major US investment bank. They use derivatives to place positions based on asset. But this is the first step. This is always the first step, and it's good because it means they have a vested interest in the price of Bitcoin. Yes, they're not going to affect the supply, and they're not taking Bitcoin off exchanges, which would be ideal, right? But they can have a direct influence on the price, and they have a vested interest in the price, which is always also good, right? If they're investing it and they need the price to go up for their clients, guess what? That's going to be good for the average Joe like you and I. So two great pieces of news that came out, and that is why we can see Bitcoin really traveling to the upside. Let's head over to the hourly charts here. And you guys will remember, if I just zoom out from yesterday's video, it's just there. On the 9th of March, we got rejected by 42.5. Remember, we're inside this massive wedge, which you can see from the white lines. And we got rejected by 42.5 in the middle, roughly, of this wedge. And we ran up again here after the Fed meeting. 3 days later, we ran up, we got rejected again on the 18th, and we got rejected again on the 19th by about 42.5. We came back down, we touched our moving average here, and we managed to create a higher low, okay, higher low, and we've gone and now broken through 42.5 very nicely. You can see we ran up as high a couple of hours ago as, let's just take the wick on this candle. The high on that candle is 43.389. Very impressive move there, almost touching our next resistance line at 43.5. And this is going to be the key line now. You can see we've got rejected by 43. Very normal. Key psychological level, big number, 43. You're going to get some sell pressure, people taking profits. We're going to come down to the downside. Now we need to get a bounce here. This bounce, if we draw a quick line, you can see this ties in exactly with our 42 level around here. Okay, so we just want to create that bounce there, get that bounce. If we can use this as a retest, which it looks like we're doing, and then post a higher high. We got to go higher this time and keep the momentum moving to the upside. Now, that's what we need from a technical perspective. If we zoom out from a 4-hourly perspective as well, this is just a small battle in the greater battle, right? So in the greater war. And the greater war is we need to break out of this wedge. We've been monitoring this wedge for a very long time. Let me just bring that into the center of the screen so you can see it clearly. We're in this battle of this wedge, and we need to see this wedge break to the upside. If we can break to the upside, then we know our technical price target with the momentum should take us to about $52,500. That will be the big part of our recovery on our way back to some normal good prices here on Bitcoin. So really key battle here within our wedge, something which we need to monitor carefully. But we've got something else on the horizon. And this is what's confusing me right now. We've got a nice big green candle today, but we know Jerome Powell did his best yesterday to crash the market. We had Jerome Powell coming out with, remember, in the FOMC meeting, he increased rates by 0.25%. Fine. The markets were happy, is what we expected. Nobody had an issue, right? His rhetoric was good. He answered the Q&A very well in the press conference, and the market started to rally. Risk on, we were good. Now he's decided to come out yesterday at the banking conference, and he's got another appearance to speak on Wednesday, tomorrow, at another conference, which is always risky for markets, right? Whenever Jerome Powell's speaking, markets can start to move and fluctuate, and I use those to buy the dip, not financial advice, but those are artificial movements where I can pick up a little bit of that fear from somebody else. But what he has started doing is changing some of his rhetoric. If we conclude that it is appropriate to move more aggressively than 25 basis points in a meeting or meetings, we will do so. So he started changing some of his rhetoric to becoming more hawkish and aggressive suddenly, which doesn't make sense. You would have had your prepared remarks. You answered the Q&A at the press conference 16th of March. What's changed in 4 days? What data have you received? What have you suddenly got to see? And I think part of it is he just needs to manage expectations around inflation. That's all he wants to do. He needs to manage the conversation, and that is why if he feels markets are getting too confident, got to turn a bit more hawkish to balance it out. But markets going to move the way markets want to move. He tried his best yesterday, and we can see that the market did have a red day yesterday, but now futures are showing that the US indices are set to open up slightly in the green. So we want to see what happens here. Naturally, we cannot ignore the elephant in the room, which is this, right? Russia says it fired hypersonic missiles into Ukraine. This is always going to weigh on markets. If we see any escalations around this intraday, that can have effect. Although there's been some reports that some people in Kiev are saying we could be coming towards, an end point within 2 to 3 weeks. And remember, that's what I said in my video earlier. The market has pretty much priced that in. The market, whether right or wrong, is pricing in this conflict as being a matter of weeks, not months or years. Okay, so if we see any, this is the risk to the downside. If we see any rhetoric or news or headlines to suggest this could be prolonged, i.e. months and years as opposed to weeks, the market's going to see something to the downside because the market's pricing that this conflict is going to be sorted in a couple of weeks. Very important that we understand that as well. Looking at oil here in the pre-market, well, there's no pre-market. You can see we're down here 0.5, so pretty steady here on oil as well. If we take a look at the VIX, we had a down day on the VIX yesterday showing the market was settling down a little bit, but it was a red market across the board. So coming back to Bitcoin, key levels we got to beat is this level in here at 43,000 and work our way to the top of the wedge, which is at 44.5. Confusing that we got Jerome Powell trying to shake markets, tried to pull a rug almost on us yesterday, didn't manage to do that. We had a slight red day yesterday, but this powerful green candle today is really setting markets alight. I think the market needs to just keep in mind that, these firms are not trading spot BTC, so we can't get too excited, but it is a good step to see big firm, Goldman Sachs, Bridgewater Associates. These are the traditional old guard, right? These were the ones who were powerfully against crypto, who did not want to go into DeFi, who did not want to go into crypto, didn't want to touch it with a barge pole. But now that they've got vested interest, they're placing their first trades, they're building cryptocurrency teams, they've had researchers for a long time now researching crypto. Now they're executing in the space. They cannot ignore the opportunity in the room, and now they're going to actively position themselves to take advantage of this. So anybody who's doubting the long-term narrative of crypto, get a further nail in that coffin to say this is all but a done deal, that crypto is here to stay. Anybody who's kind of, trying to belittle it now is just ignoring the obvious, right? They're just ignoring it for the sake of ignoring it. It's better to get on side, understand this technology, don't be against it, learn about it, find out what your weaknesses are in your knowledge gaps, fill them in, and then join the ride here on crypto, because just the journey which we're all going on, and it's obvious now. Got these massive firms jumping in on the train, clear that it's only heading in one direction. So there you have it, guys. There is an update on what's happening on Bitcoin. Crazy day we've had. 2 firms stepping in and making their first derivative trades on Bitcoin. We had Jerome Powell trying to pull the market. We still got the Ukraine tensions simmering in the background. You can see fear and greed, it actually came down slightly as well to 26, which we didn't show you there, but it did come down slightly to 26 from 30 yesterday. So we're still in this limbo period until if and when we break out of this wedge on Bitcoin. then things are going to look excited. Then you're going to see a lot of that money really start to pile back into Bitcoin. As always, guys, if you appreciate this video, make sure you hit up the like button and subscribe. Don't forget NordVPN, links in the description, 70% off of a VPN. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to link up the video to my ApeCoin video, which was posted last night. I know a lot of you guys still haven't seen that. Make sure you head over there, watch that video, because I was kind of impressed. I think the execution on this so far has been pretty slick, and I'm going to be keeping an eye out on it. So make sure you watch that video, because I tell you exactly whether I've aped in or not and what my game plan is for ApeCoin. So go watch that. Message me in the comments to let me know you've watched it as well, and I'll see you in the next one.